The Clone Turbo Tank is one of the most iconic Star Wars vehicles from the prequel era. Despite receiving minimal screen time in Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, the Turbo Tank has garnered a cult following in the 20 years since then. It's gone on to reappear in subsequent Star Wars material, including the Clone Wars TV show and Rogue One, and our Danish friends at the LEGO Group have dipped their toes in the Turbo Tank waters several times, with the most recent version releasing this year. To celebrate this vehicle's legacy, here are my rankings for the LEGO Star Wars Clone Turbo Tanks from worst to best. Now, unlike a lot of my ranking videos, there really aren't that many renditions of this vehicle in LEGO form. In fact, there are only 4 minifigure scale Clone Turbo Tanks we're going to talk about here today. Additionally, I should note I will not be including the Microfighter or any of the various mini models on this list, only the minifigure play scale versions of the Turbo Tank. With those specifications out of the way, let's dive into the countdown. Coming in last place at number 4 is set number 75413, Republic Juggernaut. Before I say anything else about this infamous LEGO set, I want to shout out one thing I actually really appreciate about this product, and that is the name of this set. Instead of calling this Clone Turbo Tank, which LEGO has referred to this vehicle by that name for 20 years, they actually called it the Republic Juggernaut, its proper name from the Star Wars galaxy.
Don't you know who I am? I'm the Juggernaut!
Obviously, LEGO is not particularly good at calling sets by their real names. They usually choose to say something like Jango Fett Starship instead of Slave 1, and Clone Turbo Tank has been their name of choice for the vehicle, which is, a proper name in some regard. However, Juggernaut is the real name of this vehicle in the Star Wars canon, and this is the first time we've seen LEGO actually refer to it as such. And as a humongous Star Wars nut, I am very appreciative of that. That being said, this set is garbanzo beans. It's dog water, it's hogwash, whatever synonym for garbage you want to use.
It's the biggest piece of dog.
It's legitimately probably one of the 25 worst LEGO Star Wars sets ever made, and it is by far the worst Turbo Tank / Juggernaut they have ever concocted. I filmed these videos behind a microphone, but if you guys could see my face right now, I am just face palming this entire time looking at pictures of this set, and also looking at the price of this set, which just so happens to be $160 for barely over 800 pieces. If you caught my video last week, I uploaded about the worst prices in the history of LEGO Star Wars. Spoiler alert, this set was in the top 5. Go check out that video to see exactly where it placed, but it's not pretty. However, a set can be overpriced, but I can still appreciate the actual build itself. The MTT that came out in the exact same wave as this Juggernaut is a really dang good build that just got hurt by a horrible deal. Unfortunately for this set though, it's the unholy combination of being insanely expensive while also being a crazy subpar design. At first glance, it looks okay. The detail is lacking. There are some random things that are just missing for some reason, like lights on the front and big blasters. But some of the shaping is decent. The color choices are fine for the most part, and it's not too stud heavy. It's a relatively smooth looking build for 2025. But as I'm sure you've all seen in any number of reviews for this set, it just completely lacks any and all structural integrity. And it's crazy to me that in 2025, a LEGO Star Wars set could get this far, literally to being released on store shelves and not actually be a stable design. Like, say what you will about most LEGO products these days and their horrible prices, but usually they are sturdy as heck. There are some sets like the T-Rex skeleton that look like they should completely fall apart, but are somehow incredibly durable. Yet this Clone Turbo Tank, this Juggernaut, a pretty beefy vehicle that seems like it'd be fairly easy to, have like an internal skeleton structure, just completely falls apart in your hands. I have no idea what went wrong there. So it's missing detail, it doesn't stay together, it was horribly overpriced, but at least the minifigures were good. Some people will nitpick the figures to death. I'm not here to do that. I think they look good for the most part, although the waist capes would have been better. But they're the wrong minifigures. There are no turbo tanks in this scene from Revenge of the Sith. In fact, this should have been a UT-AT, which was the original set this was rumored to be. And we've never gotten a UTAT. In the 20 years since its debut in Revenge of the Sith, we have never gotten that vehicle. Yet instead, LEGO decided to make a turbo tank again, but a much worse version. So many fans, including myself, were just disappointed this wasn't a UTAT. However, a new version of the turbo tank wasn't something people were not looking forward to. It had been 9 years after all since the last one. And with all their new parts and design techniques, surely LEGO could give us something cool. Nope, they give us the worst build we've ever seen for the Juggernaut. It doesn't stay together, it's insanely overpriced, it comes with the wrong minifigures. I mean, goodness gracious, this set is a disaster all around. Again, you guys can't see me, but I'm just facepalming. Like, it just naturally happens when talking about this set. My palm goes straight to my face, my elbow is on the table. It's a pose this set is worthy of. If you don't have this one in last place, I honestly think you're just objectively wrong. I know opinions are subjective, but there's gotta be some objectivity here, right? I'll stop ranting about this set. Let's move on with the actual pretty good sets in today's video. Number 3, 7261 Clone Turbo Tank. This is the original Clone Turbo Tank from 2005, and I should note there's actually 2 renditions of this set. The OG from 05 came with the Mace Windu figure, the first Mace Windu figure after all, who had a light up lightsaber. LEGO did this for 1 year in 2005, where they put a light brick inside the minifigure that made the lightsabers light up. It was kind of fun and cool, but also really gimmicky, and it completely compromised the look of the minifigures overall. And a year later, with the exact same set number, they included a Mace Windu figure without the light up lightsaber, and they also threw in an additional clone trooper figure as well. So the 06 version of this set was definitely better because of more desirable figures, but overall the exact same design was in place for the actual turbo tank. And for a set that's 20 years old, it looks really darn good. I like the use of the Mars mission wheel pieces. I think that was probably the best part choice they could have made at the time. The shaping is good. The minifigures, albeit not super accurate by today's standards, looked cool. The side builds in this one were also really fun, and overall this was a good flagship set for the first ever wave of Revenge of the Sith products. I don't really have anything negative to say, I just don't think this design is quite as nice looking as some of the more recent versions, besides of course the 2025 one. So this is not a bad third place for this vehicle, it's actually a very solid third place, and I think this one really holds up well today. My runner-up pick at number 2, I think is going to be very controversial. I have at number 2, set number 8098 Clone Turbo Tank. I think if you polled 100 LEGO Star Wars fanatics, I think probably 80 to 85% would put this one at number 1. This 2010 Clone Turbo Tank set is fairly legendary. It's not quite Republic gunship levels of beloved, but it's up there. And one of the main reasons this set is so beloved is because it's huge. The Juggernaut is a big vehicle in the Star Wars universe, and this is the biggest rendition they've ever made. It really captured the Juggernautness of the Juggernaut, if you feel me. It's a behemoth of a build. And for a build that is 15 years old, which is hurting my head because I've had my YouTube channel for longer than this set's existence, it looks very good and actually looks better in design technique than the version that just came out in 2025. The minifigures were the ugly stylized versions from the Clone Wars, but there were some nice desirable characters including Ayla Secura and Cad Bane, and overall it's a really solid design. So why is it not number 1, you may ask? Well, there's one specific thing about this turbo tank that always bothered me, and that's the wheels. They use a big Technic wheel element, and that's a fine part choice, but it's very spindly, it's too thin. Especially the underside of the turbo tank just feels really bare. When you compare it to the source material, it looks too skimpy? I don't know, I think the turbo tank needs a little bit more meat on the bone. This one to me felt kind of like an anorexic rendition of the vehicle. If LEGO had beefed up the underside a little bit more, it easily would have been number 1, and frankly, I still think it is a valid number 1 on your list. However, per my personal view, I don't think it's quite as good as our top spot. And set number 1 spot belongs to set number 75151 Clone Turbo Tank. This is the one from 2016, and this was actually one of the the original downsized vehicles. Obviously, if you're a LEGO Star Wars fan now, pretty much every major vehicle in the Star Wars universe is now being downsized. However, back in the day that wasn't nearly as prevalent, but the turbo tank did get downsized in the 6 years in between this and the 2010 set. And that made a lot of people mad. It really did. But I thought this one was a good scale overall, and actually the downscaling resulted in, I think, slightly better proportions for this vehicle, and the use of that castle wheel piece with the dish part on the front was perfect if you ask me, and that gave me the beefy bulkiness I'm looking for in a turbo tank design. Additionally, this set was just jam-packed full of opening compartments, fun play features, and one of the best ATRTs they've ever done. It also came with some fabulous minifigures including Commander Gree, Luminara, and Quinlan Vos, the only ever version we've gotten of him from the movies. I know this is going to be a controversial #1 on this list, but I love this 2016 Clone Turbo Tank set, and I don't think LEGO has ever topped this. And there you have it, y'all. Those are my rankings for all 4 of the play scale, minifigure scale LEGO Clone Turbo Tank / Juggernaut set. What are your personal rankings though? Let me know in the comment section down below. Thank you all so much for tuning in to today's video. Have a fantastic rest of your day. Peace out. God bless. Bye-bye.